Hi everybody, we're here this week with Chuck and Beth Smith, who are regular worship attenders at our 8 a.m. service and also leaders in our congregation. Chuck serves on our church council, Beth is serving on our board of trustees at the minute as well. So guys, we're going to get straight into it and I'm going to start with the same question we've asked everybody in this series. What makes you come alive?
I'll start. In thinking about my response to that question, I figured out that it evolves over time, right? And when Beth and I were first married, 40 years ago next year, by the way, my focus and my passion and what made me come alive was really centered around career. And, that comes at a cost. And I shuffle, family and friends back in the list of priorities. And, I realized that it's not the way ultimately we want to live. And so I'm happy today to tell you, through the grace of God, that what makes me come alive really falls under three categories: community, family, and friends. And being a part of the Memorial family is really a big part of that component.
I think for me, as a result of his career, we moved quite a bit. And I grew up moving all the time. It sort of defined my life, this period. And they were rapid, so I've lived a lot of places. So what really made me come alive was finding home in my heart, and I had to find the pediatrician, the veterinarian, and of course the church home. When we first visited here, probably 15, 16 years ago, we got our goodie bag for our first time visitor, and there was a yellow keychain that had Memorial United Methodist Church. I put it on my keychain and just kind of with hope, just kind of thought, maybe this is meant to be someday. And about 2 years later, we made a conscious choice to up and move here. And with knowing this place was here, gradually with time, one of the habits I learned as a result of having to change places so many times is, if somebody asks you to do something, say yes. And it will come at the right time. You just have to kind of trust in it, and do it. And if you say yes, eventually you will reap the rewards of that. So in the beginning, it's self-preservation, but in the end, especially with your church family, it sustains you. And when the times get hard and there's loss, you have something that you can fall back on.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is a transition. I think that's a really important thing for people to hear, is that what makes you come alive can look different in your 20s and 30s from what it does at a different stage of life, right? But also what makes you come alive is that having that place of home, that centering place. That's awesome. Tell me a little bit, how does this then play into, how does this connect with your life of faith? What makes you come alive in your Christian faith? How do those two come together?
Being part of Memorial means that you show up, right? And that's part of our DNA. And a few examples came to mind, and these are recent examples. These are things that have happened and we participated in the last few months. We had an opportunity to go to Kenya, and Beth and I were fortunate enough to be able to serve lunch to about 350 preschool-aged kids in Kenya. And I got to tell you, this was a Memorial-led mission trip to Kenya, and to look into those kids' eyes and see the gratitude that they were showing when we handed them that plate of food was just transformative. Secondarily, we serve at Hope, serving meals, and about a month ago, we were serving a meal like we do every month, and we ended up serving 162 meals to the hungry in Fernandina Beach, and that's not earth-shattering, given that meals are served at Hope House every single night in Fernandina. But what was earth-shattering is we prepared for 120 meals that evening, and we served 162.
Wow.
That's a God moment. Right? I mean, that just happened. Nobody can really define how it happened, but it happened. I've witnessed school fairs and feeding teachers in Nassau County appreciation lunches, and to see these teachers react with thank yous for what Memorial has provided is amazing. Just yesterday morning, another example, I attend an Emmaus reunion group on Tuesday mornings, and one of our members of our congregation and his son communicated a story about their trip to Ukraine last week, about helping that country in need. They were peeling potatoes and serving meals. And it wasn't their first trip to Ukraine, and it won't be their last. But those types of experiences that Memorial is able to participate in are transformative. And I think that's how it relates, at least to me, relative to the church.
Thanks, Beth. What about you?
Well, the individual connections, this church, every pew is filled with amazing people, and you get the chance to recognize that and to respond and then to become connected to them. Years ago, when we first moved here, someone spoke at the pulpit about serving at Barnabas in the food pantry, and I thought, okay, there it is. There's an invitation. I'm going to go do that. So I went to Barnabas and I said I'd like to sign up to work in the food pantry, and they looked at me and took me back, and I met Bob Powell. And many of you might know him. He is a saint from this church, and he convinced me and trained me and lifted me up so that I could do what they call intake there, which is when you actually interview people. This was not something I thought I could do, but with his help and his connection, and that's just one small example of two people that influenced me, and ended up I was there for 5 years, and it gave me purpose. I met other people that I still have lunch with today after we kind of are not involved in that anymore. It's a way of, you're never lonely when you have that purpose.
Right.
You've got something on your calendar, you've got a place to be, you've got meaningful work for your hands, and it is rich. It enriches your life.
Thank you. Let's go to our last question. I keep saying in all of our sermons, we are in stewardship season. How does all of this tie in with a life of generosity? I think, again, you're answering these questions already ahead of me asking them, but is there anything more you would say just about what role generosity plays in the time together, what makes you come alive in your Christian faith and these acts of service? What would you say to that?
Having open hands just is liberating. It makes your heart feel better. It makes the world go around. You see that we are strengthened by all our gifts coming together. It strengthens us for the community and makes us be able to provide where there is need. The little miracles begin to happen.
We take our financial commitments to Memorial very seriously, but this past year, Beth and I made a commitment to really up our game relative to participation in some of these hands-on missions. And I think it's been very rewarding for us, and we're anticipating next year even stepping that up a little further. Just a quick story, if I might. I've had the pleasure of participating in the strategic planning process, and the group that I participate in is really focused on the service and missions end of the plan. And I got to tell you that I come out of those meetings really energized and fired up. And in fact, I think I met you guys in the hallway the other day, and after our first meeting, I said, Charlie, I think we can end hunger. And he and Pastor Rachel looked at me and they go, he's drinking the juice. I don't know what's going on with this. So, but to kind of put a cap on that story, we've now met several times. We're in the process of finalizing the 5-year strat plan. And it's amazing to me as we're discussing kind of current state and what the church actually does in the community, how active we are in the community. But what's really encouraging is we came out of that meeting and the team really feels like a 5-year goal, a realistic 5-year goal, is to have 100% participation in service or mission. Can you imagine the impact we would have on the community around us if we had 100% participation? So the only thing I would say in closing is Carrie Mack, start putting up more of those love shows up t-shirts.
Guys, thank you. Carrie Mack's on the other side of this camera right now thinking, how am I going to edit this down to a length that's good enough for Sunday morning, but this has been rich. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.